Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2, with the best Zerg player this side of the Atlantic in the blue. It's Scarlett. Facing off against the Protoss from Team Liquid in the red, we have SKillous in a best of 5 Protoss versus Zerg showdown between Scarlett's sometimes reckless level of aggression and SKillous's more measured Protoss. Hopefully, I can count on you to smash that like button and maybe even subscribe. Help me count to the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? Jimmy. 1,667 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I'd do in my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully, you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better as the probe driven away. Tried to block the Natchery for a little bit longer, but Scarlett made sure to get those Zerglings out just in time for the Adept to come across the map and make a little bit of extra trouble. So blocking the second base, not just infuriating, but also intending to keep the creep, the reinforcements, the Zerglings, making everything more difficult in that early game, making it that much easier to pull the Zerg apart and find some weakness. So for the cost of sending out that probe early, which also has some other implications in certain situations, you are able to limit the Zerg economy and force them to build more and more defenses. Now, if SKillous ends up losing the Adepts, or committing and not getting the damage done, well, then Scarlett can turn it around and deny the third. But 2 kills, not great. Honestly, pretty terrible. Some mining time lost, but not very much in the grand scheme of things. There's already an Oracle back at home, pacing, trying to figure out why it's stuck at home instead of murdering drones. And the reason is because SKillous committed to 2 Adepts and only killed 2 drones. And now the Zerglings coming across the map, anticipated here. Now get on top of that pylon, but Scarlett backs off as soon as she sees the Oracle light up and is able to get away with minimal losses. And by minimal, I mean I don't think the Oracle killed anything. Okay, it killed 1 thing. I could have verified that beforehand. I didn't. All right, we do it live. Give or take. The Zerglings coming in again. Deja vu. It's another Oracle, while the first one head across the map. Headed. No. Across the... And burns through a Spore Crawler that was meant to dodge the Oracle damage. So a little bit of extra there, but as the prophecy foretold, the Oracle will get 2 kills and be in the orange. As there must always be 1 Oracle in the orange in this matchup. It is known. Science fact. Meanwhile, joining up with another. Might have enough energy to burn through the 4th base, doesn't decide to do so. Instead, headed right towards the main 2 Oracles, able to take out drones in a single volley of fancy laser fire. And we'll demonstrate it for now as the Queens trying to zone things out, and it looks like not 1 but 2 Oracles in the orange this time around. 3 Adepts. Shady bunch headed in, trying to get some slippery damage, maybe draw the Zerglings away, and guess what? Scarlett not quite on point. And the Zerglings, where are they going? Come back down here. 3 more drones dead. And drawing all this back, Scarlett beta into building 6 more Lings so far. Shades into the back of the 3rd base. The Queens trying to take them out, but not known for their incredibly high DPS. And now 6 drones lay dead. And Scarlett has a deficit to start things off. And now trying to compound that SKillous, heading out with the first Blink Stalkers. Will have Blink completed. He skipped over the +1 in order to get more Stalkers early. So, if Scarlett can defend this, she's in a very good spot to do counter damage. But this is hitting a lot faster than your usual more upgrade-oriented timing. And with the Oracles lighting up to help burn through the hatchery, clearly intent. Yeah, Scarlett already expanding to the alternative 4th. The Stalkers setting up for a recall. Will actually just recall. I kind of like that. A lot of players will wait until the last possible moment, and then they'll wait several more moments before recalling. And that's one of my many, many pet peeves. All right? You can read my manifesto on Patreon. But, SKillous gets the objective, recalls back. He restarts that cooldown, and he can come out again. So instead of risking the Stalkers and spending another 15, 30 seconds, he's already just working towards the next set. But Scarlett, not to be outdone. 16 drones were just in the production tab, so clearly not slouchy on the economy. Psionic Storm is halfway there for SKillous, not trying for a 4th base yet, instead focused on building up all of the infrastructure. Stopped at 66 probes, building 4 more gateways. That's going to bring us up to 8, right? Yes, of course. And right now, Scarlett has no chance of matching that unit composition. That's why she's going for the infestation pit, getting so many drones, she could tech right up to Hive while still pumping out units. It should not be an issue defending these Blink Stalkers, but I doubt the Stalkers will go so far forward. They're at severe risk, but... Ooh. Overlord, very dead. Stalkers refuse to elaborate further. Not that they could, as they don't have mouths. Meanwhile, storm completed. That's all I had to say about that. Very important milestone. Makes it an order of magnitude harder for a more conventional Zerg ground army to actually attack in any location, especially with energy recharge to slap 100 energy into those Templar once a minute. Possibly the most useful thing to happen to Templar since we took away their Kadaran amulets that allowed them to warp in with a storm. That was like 15 years ago. This month. Well, actually, no. Kadaran amulet lasted like 2 years, but... Am I old? Fleet beacon on the way. As SKillous up to that tier 3, that final level of tech as he heads towards the Golden Armada. On the other side, a Hive is in production for Scarlett. Lurker Den already completed. Hydralisk upgrades finished up as well. So Scarlett has all the fixins for this mid to late game composition, but needs to get something done, get into a good position before those fleet beacon units come online. Is that... No Templar, but... The main army over to the right side, though. The bait and switch masterfully done so far. Oh, but the Templar gliding up. Scarlett saw him trying not to get caught in the storms, but has to get close enough to save the base. So the Roaches and Hydra scrambling up. 18 drones dead. It's a disaster. Between the base itself, as well as the charge lots coming in. Scarlett actually down 10 workers now, but down goes the Oracles. Where the Templar, a little bit behind the fight. Down and blunks into the right side with just a few volleys of Stalker fire. Queens, this is restricted lair space. Takes out the War Prism. 4th base dead. Scarlett maintains the Roach Hydra composition across the board, but knocked back down to 3 bases. The creep spread, of course. But the creep spread still quite impressive, especially for this matchup, where creep spread is not seen as nearly as much of a premium as it is in Zerg versus Terran, for example. But the creep is over halfway across the map. Wasn't enough to help Scarlett defend her 4th base, and is going to make it hard. Just the unit composition will make it difficult to actually attack into SKillous. But it's always better to have more than less. The scouting unburrowed spore crawler on the run. Not gonna make it. Charge lots much faster. The creep now extending up the ramps on SKillous' side of the map. Revelation, Oracle rebuild, and a mothership is on the way. Hydras take out a few of the charge lots. Tempest count growing. 4 or 5 Tempests are enough to start one-shotting, well, Lurkers. Hydras only take a couple, but usually the composition is between 5 and 8 Tempests. Mothership. Mix in some Immortals and Archons as needed. Add some seasoning. Do not taste the seasoning. You don't have a mouth, but... War Prism in the main. The Queen's trying to take it down, but the charge lots will be warped in. And the Queen's assassinated. Meanwhile... The Lurker is actually boxing out this army, trying to outflank Scarlett. Not going to be enough, but the Queens! slaughtered in the main base. More charge lots finding their way to the north. The main deathball driving back the lurkers over to the right side of the map. 18 more drones in production for Scarlett because of course they are. But 9 drones dead in the last exchange. Chasing down some more of the charge lots to the north. Scarlett with a casual 675 APM. SKillous, a more stately 300, but definitely playing very efficiently. What? Okay, well, I'm not sure what that was. The citizen's arrest, but the creep almost blocked the base. Unfortunately, almost doesn't count. Maybe in Horseshoes and Psionic Storm, but some of the probes will go down, giving Scarlett an opportunity to push that creep all the way up to block the base, and another army over to the right flank. There's 5 Immortals, a vanguard of cannons, multiple Templar with multiple Psionic Storms. And Scarlett thinks about it, but decides she's not going to be able to break through. A Nidus network on the way. Trying to circumvent the majority of the problems right now. Lurkers from either side of this base try to chew their way forward. Both hive tech upgrades. Speed and range. Oh, burrow speed, but the mothership gliding back to the main. The Nidus is spotted. Charge lots warped in, but given some time to move up towards the third base. Slicing through the cannon and really cutting off the base as well. Who's flanking who in this fight? Another army coming in from the north side. Storms coat the lurkers down the center. Hydras not really able to do much in the way of anti-air. They only cosplay an anti-air unit. And Scarlett with a great multi-pronged attack, but isn't able to translate it into very much damage. The Nidus was taken out. The lurkers driven back. The Hydras whittled down. But SKillous was denied another base. And that creep spread is once again encroaching. Trying to block the base outright, but finally will be cleared up. Multiple observers with the Tempest here. Scarlett is just now adding on a Spire, which may be too little and it may be too late. The Tempest count already at 7. Working on +2 Protoss air weapons, adding more cannons across the board. But Scarlett does have 74 drones. She's mining from, well, 5 bases, going on 6, just always adding to the edges. There's only 3 queens left after the Great Queen Massacre of, like, 4 minutes ago. Mothership Nidus. No. Mothership Nidus is definitely not something we have, though, you know, that might be the buff Zerg needs. Remember Vortex? The Archon Toilet. Ah, yes. What we need is more late-game Protoss options. SKillous slowly, but ever so surely expanding outwards. That center base being taken. A Shrine to Dark in the main. Always a smart move. +3 ground weapons. +2 air weapons completing. Meanwhile, Scarlett has +3 ranged attack and +1 carapace. Now working on adrenal glands, +1 melee and +2 carapace. I feel like this many numbers is hurting my brain. Yeah, this game is not about numbers, it's about feelings. Meanwhile, SKillous had 200 out of 200 supply with 69 probes. So a very nice army right now. Very tough to beat. Scarlett, on the other hand, well, has taken more than her fair share of the map, but, well, playing fair doesn't mean a great situation for the Zerg, especially at this state of the game. Very hard to actually break this position. Eventually, Infestor Brew Lord. That is, and has always been, the end game. No matter how many changes, or adjustments, or buffs or nerfs, it somehow seems we end up at that Infestor Brood Lord composition as the supreme late game, pretty much no matter what. Both players losing a very similar amount of resources, but SKillous actually losing 1,000 more gas. Scarlett has been remarkably cost-effective, which is why I remarked on it. DT Blink. SKillous just clicking through its buildings, like, oh, what don't I have yet? DT Blink, +1 shield, Warp Prism speed, all useful upgrades, but sometimes forgotten. in the grand scheme of things, but the tectonic destabilizer's already done. The Dorito Dusted Tempest shots obliterating all of this. Charge Lot War Prism, and oh, the mothership to the south as well. Makes this so difficult to deal with. The mothership can grab the army or be recalled back itself. And Scarlett just straight through the center of the map, cuts through with the Hydras, slices with the Lurkers. Gonna take out at least one of these bases uncontested. The Lurkers in a precarious position. Time Warp Storms. Alright, Hogwarts has some competition with this much spell casting, but more Hydras just kind of caught out down the center. Mothership incinerating a lot of this. 24 Corruptors on the way. The big switch to a Congress of Corruptors and a Spire being made great again. Greater Spire and Flyer upgrades. Scarlett takes out a base, whittles down the composition, and moves in for the massive tech switch. The danger here is overcommit to the Corruptors and not having the Brood Lords to follow him up. SKillous has played a very careful game. Built up that army, that momentum. The deathball is rolling. It occasionally slides backwards, but... Brenda! Brenda used apple maps again. Sorry. There you go. The Corruptors sniped off the mothership, but took some massive storms in turn. Scarlett needs to wipe out the Tempest and then switch to Brood Lords before SKillous overruns the field. The storm splits, dives on top of the Tempest. Autumn colors just wading through the storm. The Archons, the Lurkers, the devastation. The Tempests are surviving the engagement, but they go into the Spore Crawler. One of them gets taken down. And despite 24 Corruptors, SKillous just waves upon waves of storm. Wipe them out of the sky, so there's no chance to make Brood Lords in that scenario, because there's no Corruptors left. Oh no. It's a disaster. It goes from almost even to Scarlett losing 7,000 more resources. The idea was good, but SKillous set up for exactly that. Knew what the major dangers were and accounted for them. And even though Scarlett cleaned up the army, the cost may have been far too great. She loses 3 bases, only rebuilding 1 now. There's money in the bank here, but no larva, as the queens have been removed. The monarchy has been overthrown. She's building 3 queens at a time, but simply cannot refill the army. Between losing half of the hatcheries, it was a gamble. SKillous handled it too damn well, though. Scarlett trying to slice through. The lurker count is dramatic, but SKillous is maxed out and starting to bank. Just letting Scarlett fall on that army composition and get melted by storms and archons. Wait a second. The Nidus, the tactical Nidus. The corruptor count regrowing, but SKillous is maxed. It's a death animation at this point. That is far too much Protoss. There's enough storm on the back line, the mothership overhead. The creep finally being removed from the field. +3 shields will begin. That's quite a demonstration of how difficult it's been for Scarlett at this stage. +3 shields, a rarity in general. The lurkers enough to keep things at bay. If Scarlett can hold for 3-4 more minutes, but SKillous with the very clear bait and switch, recalling the army over with the mothership, before the lurkers and corruptors can reposition, and getting everything burrowed and set up before the base gets obliterated is almost physically impossible. This is why, after losing a fight, SKillous, Scarlett taps out. GG. SKillous takes game number 1. But this is why Zerg players try so hard to keep that momentum. If you allow the mothership to reposition the army, if you're essentially vulnerable on both flanks simultaneously, it doesn't get easier. All right? You can go for the corruptors, but it's going to be costly. Those are a game-winning move, and if you don't win the game, maybe a game-losing one. SKillous, game 1. We're loading in the Incorporeal for game 2. Probe already on the way out. I think Scarlett had all the pieces in place. So actually, you know what? No, I'm swerving. We're not going to do meta commentary. We're actually going to do a completely unsponsored advertisement for Zero Space. Scarlett is the balance designer for what, in my opinion, is the most creative, or at least the best executed so far, of the StarCraft-inspired RTS. Zero Space, if you're watching this today, or within the next week or so, Zero Space is having a free demo. Zero Space is having a free demo and a prize for laddering and a series of show matches with some of your favorite content creators, including Scarlett, Cats, Loco, Roddy, Winter. Yeah, I'm playing against Pig in like a week. But I'm excited to see some of the changes. And I think it has the most interesting take on adding heroes. Don't get turned off immediately. Without the heroes. Heroes more like a mothership than they are a mountain king, if that makes sense. But I really do think Zero Space has the most potential to actually kind of be a spiritual successor to SC2. Stormgate has made a lot of good improvements. Immortal Gate Supplier is a completely different direction. But, Zero Space is embracing that. We have a lot of different stuff going on, and it's kind of wacky. It's kind of a mess, but in a fun way. I'm not saying the game is a mess. I'm saying they're willing to be creative, including Scarlett as the balance designer. So, just, if she loses... Also, I'm impressed by how much she's been playing lately in SC2, but I haven't played it yet. This is being recorded before that demo is available, but I hope to see you there. I think Scarlett will be casting those show matches later on, and streaming, of course, so I look forward to learning. But still, the very Zerg-like, you can tell what she wants to do. It's just there's no Zerg in the world, up to and sometimes including Cyril, that can comfortably deal with that composition. SKillous just, no, you cannot, I do. And building up to those 4 bases, just, SKillous has been overshadowed by many Protoss. I think SKillous is like the solar of Protoss. One of the best in the world, but just not quite good enough to take the spotlight away from like Max Pax and Hero. Just like Solar is incredible, but wasn't quite there to take the spotlight away from Cyril, Raynor, until recently Dark. So, but SKillous definitely, I don't know. I've never seen a bad series from him. Maybe not the most inspired, but incredibly well executed. This time around, though, get off my creep! They did. They did get off the creep. It's really a metaphor for I want to murder you, Susan. Me or the Adepts? I feel like I don't need to answer that question. Sorry, and the Oracle. Oracle goes down after killing, I think, 2 more drones, which that is not what the prophecy foretold. Things have gone sideways here. I do want to point out, during my zero space pontification, Scarlett thought about proxy hatching, or at least I feel like it was spite as well. She blocked the base with a drone. I don't know if she would have proxy hatched if the probes weren't there, but as a Zerg player, 1/3 Zerg myself. Some of my best friends are Zerg, okay? Getting the base blocked with a probe, you know intellectually it's going to happen, but emotionally... Oracle comes in, deja vu. We've just been in this place before, overstaying your... What? 2 for 2. 2 Oracles dead. But even more Oracles are coming in to try to demonstrate their fragility. Well, that was not good. Losing 2 Oracles and your Adepts early is certainly a series of unfortunate events. Not entirely sure what SKillous was trying to accomplish there. Unless he's Oracle laundering, in which case maybe should make it a little less blatant. I think almost literally autopilot on the second Oracle and then realizing, maybe not. Meanwhile, Zerglings slipping into the third, but the probe's on stop position. Bit of a clever move, but starting to overrun. The shady bunch on the other side is not back at home to help out, and Scarlett exploiting that lack of Oracles. The Oracle is just off to the side, and SKillous having a bit of a breakdown here. Really struggling. You know, that might be the weakness. If it doesn't all go perfectly according to plan, the House of Cards tumbles. And so far... Yeah, the Queens, another Oracle. That's 3! Great job, Susan. Great job. All 3 of the Triumvirate taken down. Honestly, maybe that's the weakness. SKillous might be one of those players that theory crafts perfectly. Scarlett came in, blocked the base with a drone a little bit, and SKillous has been tilting. How do you like it, Protoss? But there is no 2 ways about it. This is not a good game out of SKillous so far. There is no way I can try to convince you that losing 3 Oracles, 7 Adepts for a few drones and Zerglings is worth it. It simply isn't. Scarlett up to 75 drones. She may have gone too far, dug too deep, and too greedily to deal with these first Stalkers, but I don't think so. +1 melee is already done. Dozens more Zerglings on the way. There's not 4, but 5 hatcheries, and I'm comfortable calling that a 5th, because I don't think this hatchery will be taken out. Trying to preempt the blink or cut off any reinforcements. SKillous. Yeah, the Zerglings trying to get in the, yeah, this recall. Much less effective. Even some left behind. Scarlett's just up 50 supply. Well, SKillous quadrupling down on the proxy gate timing. There are 58 Zerglings on the field. Scarlett now building Hydras. Probably the best unit composition against pure Stalkers, Hydraling. A strong Protoss army coming together. But back at home, the Nexus is already being ripped apart. Scarlett can just give up this base. She doesn't necessarily need to. But if it comes to that, SKillous is going for the heart of the swarm. Blunk's in, which means no way to kite back. 1 Queen on the backside, taken out, but the Hydra should be able to work their way through this. Stutter stepping down with the creep. Queen's getting involved as well. More Zerglings. Zerglings coming back to flank the Stalkers as the fight is happening. And, well, doing a pretty good job against just the pure Hydras, which are incredibly fragile, but the Zealots warped in. Scarlett, some of you may die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. The Zerglings getting cut down by the upgraded Zealots. Almost all of them taken out, but SKillous' supply blocked. Stuck on gateway units as the Hydras continue being pumped out of the hatcheries. The supply dwindles, and Scarlett will be striking back, taking a decisive game 2. Tough game for SKillous. Clearly struggling. Losing the Adepts and then the Oracles, those are just, like, even one of those mistakes can sometimes translate into overall massive deficit. But multiple, or that's just too much. Tough game, but I do think some of it comes down to Scarlett actually blocking the base. Not for a long time, but if you've got your build mapped out to the 6-minute mark and suddenly everything's 20 seconds late, I was wondering. There it is. The drone goes down like it's gonna take a third and then suddenly re-angles. Ah, yes. The Dark special. We may not have Dark, but Scarlett, honestly and historically, one of the closest players to Dark style of just kind of vibes-based Zerg, with the macro and mechanics to back it up, of course. Thinking about a hatch, trying to get the block. Bringing it around again. Blocking that Nexus. At the very least. How do you like it? Meanwhile, Probe distracted. SKillous just goes for the Cyber Core. The drone. One hit. Do it. No. Thought she might go for the wall off at the natural wall, but manages to get her Natchery and to delay SKillous' Nexus. We do have to ask ourselves that eternal caster question, though. Have you liked and subscribed? And at what cost? Probe chasing the drones. Wait, did it chase it to the ends of the earth? This probe chased from the other side of the map. Wow. Stargate is on the way. Just hanging out. Got those minerals. Trying to offer them up. Diplomatic mission. I don't think Scarlett's going to accept. Adept just looking around, trying to pick off any Zerglings that might sneak out. Stargate, of course. And until Zergling speed is done, the Adept should be mostly safe, unless it decides to outright commit. And speaking of, alright, takes 2 to tango. Well, in this particular case, to one-shot drones, more accurately. The Adepts. But Scarlett with 8 links does cut into the drone count a bit, 26 to 32. She's got 6 more on the way, but Skill is still pumping them out. The Adepts may commit, and they do. Down goes one. But the spawning pool kind of body blocks out. The Adepts coming around again, finding a choke point to slice through the Zerglings. Going to lose one of them. The second one will make it out for now, but I think that was worth it. Knocking down the Zerglings and keeping everything busy. Well, Scarlett doesn't really have an economic lead. It's always a... That's why it's so important not to... Oh, no. It's a disaster. The Queen's out of position. And in a massive reversal of the previous game, the Queen's out of position. The Oracle slips in 4 kills and doesn't even have the decency to stick around and get knocked into the orange. with Depths Oracle. The Slip and Shade build. The Oracle keeps the Adepts from getting surrounded by Zerglings easily, as it can just help burn through them. And the Adepts can take advantage of that map control, help take out the creep tumors, potentially complete the Shade and go into the mineral line. But the threat is there, and that helps keep the Zerg economy at bay. What is this wall? Thanks, I hate it. I have strong opinions on Protoss architecture. Alright, but my civil engineering, I'm what you might call a layman. Alright, at least that's what your mother calls me, but... Blink halfway done. Zerglings on top of the Stalker, but the Oracle recharged and ready to rumble. And a second Oracle here as well. The Zerglings driven back immediately. Overlord popped. And Scarlett, 5 more on the way. Definitely not the decisive economic advantage nor map control she enjoyed the last game. But building up into the +1 melee Zerglings. Lair is halfway there. Blink is already completed with 5 gates done though. SKillous can put on a lot of pressure. And there are the Oracles, even a proxy pylon in production to reinforce this push. The creep spread optimistic. The 5th base going to be denied with ease. Queens. This is actually a lot of Protoss coming together very quickly. No +1 attack for the Protoss, but still definitely a danger. The +1 melee attack on the Evolution Chamber. Scarlett definitely doesn't want to lose it. The Oracles, Queens trying to take them down. At least reduces some of the DPS. But those Zerglings are thinning out way too quickly. The Stalker count is higher than the Zergling count. And I don't have to tell you that's a bad sign. But I wouldn't have a job if I didn't do it anyways. Infestation Pit is all the way, I think, actually for Infestors. But it's already too little and far too late. SKillous shores up all the weaknesses and turns it around with ease. Going to take game number 3. SKillous on match point. Scarlett, it's almost, I'm not going to say boring, but that phase of the game, that initial Oracle and Adept harassment has such compounding effects on the next few minutes, which sometimes can just end the game outright. Like, games can end on 1 Oracle and 2 Adepts, and vice versa. Like, if you lose the Oracles and Adepts, you see what happens. The Protoss has no map control, no foothold. The Zerg have so many feetholds. More on Dronely fans. Check out Patreon. That there's no way for the Protoss to move out, get overrun, and counterattack simultaneously. But if the Zerg is not able to keep up economically, is trying to scrape out a few extra drones just to stay even, and then the Protoss comes in with Oracles overhead and a sharp blink timing, the economy just crumbles. So it really does all revolve around that first 3-4 minutes and how much or how little is accomplished. That's why I always try to beg for likes and subscribes right off the bat. So, I did see some comments about, Winter, I've never played StarCraft before. Your voice puts me to sleep, but at some point, could you explain units a little better? And to that I say, this is that point. So, Oracles have the Pulsar Beam ability, which does spell damage and costs energy. And each time you activate it, it costs 25 energy. So you can't just flip it on and off like the lights in your bedroom that your mom told you not to. Because that wastes energy. She was right. She told. But that burns right through Zerglings and drones, 2 hits, easily. Then you have the Revelation ability, where you slap the Revelation on an area, and it tags any units or technically destructible rocks nearby, giving you vision of that general area and detection for like 15 seconds or so. Very helpful for those large groups of lurkers later on, and just in general for keeping tabs on things. And then you have the Stasis Ward, 50 energy, which can, once it triggers, it expands slightly and catches all the units nearby in stasis for 21 seconds, which they're completely invulnerable to everything, including additional stasis. So that means invulnerable to storm, but they act as a wall off as well. So the Stasis Ward is, I don't think we've seen any in this series, but it's sometimes a very regular character in Protoss versus Zerg matches. The Oracle, the Swiss Army knife of Protoss. There's a reason we see it effectively every single game, because Zerg does not have any real anti-air. They have queens, they have spores, but making those into an aggressive option, the queens wear a lot of hats. They don't get enough credit. You're goddamn right. But the queens want to be at the front creeping. They also want to be at the back injecting. They want to be in position to zone out the oracles. They can't be at all these places at once. And last game, we saw the issue with that, as SKillous drew the queens out of position slightly and got so much damage done with the oracles. The queens have decent anti-air capability, but obviously they don't move very fast off creep. And they can't fly. Not since the war. So. But Zerg and their production can sometimes scale so quickly that if you don't keep it cut down in some way, like SKillous is trying to do, thank you, in the orange, as the prophecy foretold. Thinking about a stasis there, but now thinking about the unit's lost tab and how to avoid it. Later on, there are Hydralisks, but Hydralisks are so incredibly fragile and have barely more HP than the damage done by one Psionic Storm. So, the current Protoss versus Zerg meta and setup, past the mid-game, which we haven't made in a while, is to keep the Zerg at bay until you can get those air units and force eventually out of Spire. And we saw what happens if you over or under commit to anti-air. But the Blank Stalker's headed across. Blank, one of those things, it's like a lightsaber. Which is a little ironic because Protoss have units that effectively have lightsabers. But in good hands, it can be incredibly powerful. But in less good hands, it's going to screw you more than your opponent. The Blink Stalker timings are so good with players like Skillous and Maxpax and Hero, as they're going to hit that timing so sharply, they force the units out of Zerg, and whenever you build a set of Zerglings, those units, not drones. Alright. Right now, Scarlett only has 49 drones to 53. I'm pretty sure that Nidus, a desperate Nidus attempt, well, it feels a little desperate. And the Revelation doesn't have much vision, but the Oracle came in and spotted the Nidus. Right? SKillous isn't really acting like he saw one. The Oracle's, I guess, spreading out. There's no Overlords nearby. Might be able to... You know, I'd love just put the Nidus past the wall. Alright, in front of the wall. Also works. Well, here we go. The Oracles light up and burn through. Nidus doesn't have enough HP to survive it. The shield batteries are holding. The shield's at full power. Another Nidus is on the way. A little bit off to the side. Oracle recharge. So much energy. It's going to be driven back for now. More queens in production. Scarlett, not done yet. The shield batteries were taken out or fully drained. And now, we've arrived! I said it was hard. I didn't say it was impossible. And Scarlett gonna go for Spinecrawler Nidus. What? Scarlett with a Queen Spine. I'm not even gonna say rush, but going to try to break down this wall. Mr. Zergachev. The Queen's holding the line, giving some cover. More drones on the way. More spines. We're piling in. Here we go. Brenda, this seems ill-advised. We're already committed. There's no questioning it now. The spine crawlers are finished. The blink stalkers are holding things back for now. But Scarlett, with one of the most dramatic all-ins. She wanted to do a proxy hatch 2 games in a row. This is as close as we're gonna get. A mid-game Nidus spine crawler attack. The cannon's in position. The spine crawler's banging on the wall, trying to break it down, almost taking out a sentry. They successfully do so. Scarlett's spine crawler's just wailing on the cybernetics core as well. Hydralisk Den behind it. Scarlett's actually macroing. This is a containment build, which is certainly something. The cyber core would remove access to blink stalkers, recharges a shield battery. The spines are holding, but they're eventually being whittled down. Stalkers, able to cut through them. I don't know if this was enough. I love it. I love to see it. I'm very happy we got to experience it, but I feel like SKillous dealt with that about... Well, the fact it worked at all. The fact that Scarlett was able to build 5 spine crawlers on that side of the map is just a little obscene, to be honest. Storm is on the way. Scarlett's still building drones. Burning through, but the Hydras knock out one of the Oracles. Scarlett trying to go up to like 80 drones here. Not quite. And, you know, I like the massive... As soon as it was clear it wasn't going to be a game-winning strategy, switching into full, reckless greed may be the way, but SKillous still has the institutional momentum of someone who already had the economy before the all-in. Sure, he lost a few superficial buildings, a few probes. Is that true? 7 probes. But the gateways were already up, the tech was already invested in. So SKillous just has to capitalize on it. Scarlett is still catching up in terms of upgrades in general and tech. Getting those extra bases, getting the mainling nest, the Hydralisk Den, all the fixins here. But she does have 5 hatcheries. So there's a real chance of just collapsing and crushing this army. But it's certainly no guarantee. Hydralings. The storms are ready. Washing over. The zealots. Give me another. Hydra's trying to close in. Many storms exhausted, but then they can merge into Archons as well. Continue the fight. Archons help you out a lot. Scarlett piling in 14 more Hydras, but there's not enough. With a mediocre economy and a even less capable unit composition, SKillous is able to win the day and overrun the field. Scarlett with one of the most... You know, that's Scarlett's curse. Always trying the new, innovative, creative strategies. But sometimes they just don't pay off. SKillous holding it together. A bit of a mixed bag of a series for him, but a solid victory in the end. Well, make sure, once again, not sponsored. I'd just love it if people gave more of a shot to things. And honestly, they're doing terrible marketing. So here's some free marketing for them. Eventually, they'll pay me when they're a wild success. But check out the Zero Space demo. And otherwise, well, thank you for watching. I hope it made your day a little bit better. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did. If you got the means of motivation, be awesome. Check out Patreon or YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free. At least for now. Thank you to our Mule Tier patrons, Big Jiggy, Devin, Dork, Kate, Mario, Random Guy, and Soup. for bringing in those extra minerals. And thank you everyone for watching. I'll see you next time. Good luck, have fun, stay chill.